Um, yesterday was it yesterday? Yesterday was the 11th anniversary of Katrina, Hurricane Katrina. I really didn't see anything about it, and quite honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I forgot until I was talking with Stacy this morning. And Stacy was like, yesterday was the 11th anniversary of Katrina. Like I knew it was somewhere around here. But quite honestly, August has been a blur. I'm just ready to get through 2016. Um, but we were talking about it, and I was just reading an article earlier in can't remember if it was HuffPost or where it was at. But anyway, but I was reading an article earlier and we were just talking about how 11 years later, there's still a whole section of the Ninth Ward that's basically been untouched. Still dilapidated housing, still, and because of the way property laws are in some parts for Louisiana, it's not that easy to get them demolished. And then, I mean, it's not even clear like what they would rebuild. There are people like one of the older gentlemen in the article was talking. He was like, they claim everything's fine. People can go back, but I feel like there's mold here. I feel like there are concerns for our health. Well, no, why is that important? I think that there are issues. There are issues that still persist, even from something like Hurricane Katrina, in the way that development is done, in the way we do disaster relief management. We just saw also Louisiana with the big storm that just happened. That wasn't a hurricane or anything. That was just a storm and a lot of rain. It affected a different area, not New Orleans, but these conversations we keep having about things like climate change, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, that has nothing to do with me. When in fact we see these examples of how these issues, whether it's climate change, whether it's corporate, funds being used to dictate how decisions are made at the local level in terms of development and who gets housing investment and who doesn't and things like that. People will say and make stupid comments like, oh, that has nothing to do with Black people, or that has nothing to do with this group of people, or that has nothing to do with poor people. When in fact, all this stuff absolutely does have something to do with us, right? And so we have to figure out, how do we engage with people to get them on board with certain causes and issues and really rallying around good candidates, for example, policy initiatives, etc., from the local level on up, if we're not speaking to them in the language they understand. And this just means like actually just showing people how in their day-to-day life this matters. Because if I'm speaking to you up here about campaign finance reform, right? If I'm speaking at this level up here about campaign finance reform and this, that, and the other, but you're just trying to make life, in your ends, make ends meet on a day to day, that's just like, okay, whatever. I mean, and there are a lot of people who check out of the voting process, who check out of being involved for that reason, like, because they don't see how it affects their daily life. All they see are people who have means and access making decisions and their voice not counting. They don't see, all the minutia in between. So we got to figure out a way to break it down. And a lot of us, being regular working class, kind of sort of middle class folks, struggling, people who understand that ordinary day-to-day living, we can kind of be like a translator, right? Like we can kind of help work between these two worlds that we've now become more accustomed in. Like there's so much that we can do going forward, and we don't need to, like, if there are certain organizations and whatever, I mean, you're not happy with our revolution, fine. You are happy with it, great. um but don't give up, don't despair just because something is not turning out the way you thought it would be, right? Isn't that what we teach our kids? Or if you're a grandparent, grandkids, auntie and uncle, I mean, right? Like, you brush your stuff off and you get back at it.